You're listening to Mike James Rock Show with Dan and Mike.
Right, it's Mike from the Mike James Rock Show, and joining us today is Chad from Newfound Glory. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hello, what's up? How you doing, brother?
It's all good. It's all good. Whereabouts in the world are you at the moment?
I am in a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, nice.
Where I've lived for a long time now. I think I moved here in 2009, 2010. Okay. I lived in California for a long time. You know, lived in Florida, and then we got our big record contract. And then after self-titled, we had to make Sticks and Stones. So I moved to Southern California, lived there for like 14 years, and then moved here and chilled out.
Life. Yeah.
Chilled out, but now everybody that lived in LA now is moving here. So I'm like, no. I'm like, I came here to get away from it all.
It does seem like that. Like one of my favorite podcasters, Steve-O from Jackass, has just moved to Tennessee in the last year or so. And
Steve-O too?
Yeah. He sold up. He lived in the Valley or something in California, and he sold up and moved to Tennessee. And that's part of his podcast, is about, bits of his life. Now he's got like this farmyard where he's looking after rescue animals and stuff. He's still the same Steve-O, but the podcast is awesome. It's called The Wild Ride. You should check it out sometime, man.
I will. I mean, in my little town, Fred Durst just moved here. I'm like, what the heck? Why am I seeing Fred Durst on my local, Instagram accounts of like local venue, local places to eat and whatever? I'm like, oh my gosh. I had to text a friend that toured with him. I was like, did Fred Durst move here? She's like, let me find out. She's like, yep. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it will not end. And the thing about it is, it used to be a getaway where, like, back in the day, Johnny Depp would play the local, like, bar food place just randomly, or Nicole Kidman or whatever. And it was very hush hush,
Okay.
It was very like, there's people, but you never would, bother, no one, there wasn't, it didn't grow to a level where they were bothered.
Yeah.
But now the town, since COVID, it's more affordable. So people from the West Coast that were escaping whatever they escaped over COVID all moved here, and it's just like, it's been overrun. And now houses that you used to be able to buy for $300,000 are now like $1.5 million, and you're like, oh man, like this is just destroyed the beauty of, where we lived, and obviously it helps me, who's been here for a long time, but at the same time, there's sort of that like, selfishness of, like, no, this is mine. Technically, I did the same thing. I just did it a while ago,
But now they're blowing up your spot, and it's like, it was nice and peaceful here until all these musicians moved in.
Yeah, exactly. And I was the same guy.
Yeah.
Just a lot longer ago, a while ago.
This neighborhood underpot.
Yeah, and I think I did it for different reasons. I did it to, just chill and settle down, and not to have a fantasy of buying like 30 properties and being rich, and making everyone who used to be able to live here and afford it, now they can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost gentrification, isn't it? But then California, it seems to be a mass exodus from there anyway.
Exactly.
Some sort of creative arts, and I don't think any films are filmed in Hollywood anymore, are they?
No, I mean, that's what I hear. I watched that that show called The Floor with Rob Lowe.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like a competition show. It's super fun. It's a game show. And he was online. He was like, yeah, he's like, we filmed the entire show in Ireland.
Wow. I suppose it's cheaper to fly everyone out there.
They fly everyone out there, the crew, the film crew, everyone. They build the set, they do the thing, and they shoot it all in Ireland. And it's all people from the States. you know?
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
We're actually here to talk about your 11th studio album, Listen Up, which is
Yeah.
on the 20th of February. So as this interview airs, it'll be launch week. So I'm guessing you're in that kind of limbo time now where you're doing press on it, but the craziness of recording and editing and production and all, making videos and stuff, that's pretty much all done, I'd imagine.
Yeah. We still have we still have a video to come out release week, that we're, excited about. But yeah, all that kind of stuff. The building of the album is done, and now it's just, like you said, press and getting touring ready and all that kind of stuff.
It's crazy. Can you give us a bit of a lowdown on the backstory of yourself and how this album came about? Because reading from the press release, you've had quite a harrowing time for the last couple of years. So it's definitely something that I've noticed, because I managed to get an early copy of the album, and it is chef's kiss on the album.
Yeah.
Some of the songs and the subject matter really hit home and hit hard. So if you can give our listeners a bit of a backstory to everything that's going on with you and how that has progressed you into making this album.
Yeah. I had a daughter in 2021. And then by the end of the year, I went on tour, I went on tour, and it was during COVID, and so I thought I had COVID. And then when I got home or on tour, I was having these heart issues or blood pressure issues, and I would sleep all the time. And then I came home, and one day I didn't wake up, and my wife, with my daughter in the living room, kept me alive. And what happened was, I found out I had an 8-inch tumor in my stomach.
Whoa.
That was eating all my sugar. So when I was asleep, it deprived me of all the sugar in my body and ate it all. So I couldn't wake up. And
it was like a diabetic coma then, really.
Yeah. I was out and I had nothing. And it also makes your blood pressure spike too. So your sugar goes and your blood pressure goes. So, I got, she kept me alive I woke up to paramedics. I was surrounded, and I was like, hey, what is this? Like, I had no clue. Like, I felt completely normal. Wow. And there's 7 paramedics, and they're like, all right, guy, we got to take you to the hospital. And then they took me to the hospital, and I lived there for 4 weeks, waiting for my surgery, and then recovering, and got it removed, and cancer went away. I was completely clear. And then I ended up having a different cancer than they thought. And it came back, and it came back with a fury. So now I have titanium vertebrae.
Ooh.
I had 2 surgeries for my back, fixed that. And then it came back again. And I have in my lower back, I have cracked, I forget the bones in your lower back.
The cellular bone. That's the one I've done.
No, not that. It's a more common word, or more common bone.
The coccyx, the tailbone.
Not the tailbone, but anyway, I had cracks in that, and tumors were in there. So I've just been under a lot of chemo and a lot of treatments, and I've had amazing help. Like, I went to, when things started getting really scary, I went to one of the many times. Did a big road trip, had a friend come out and help drive me and my wife and my daughter and a friend, and got a nice hotel. And I went to, they got me into the National Institute of Health, because I ended, in Maryland. And so it was crazy. It was this, crazy experience. And basically have a disease, a cancer that 1 in 30 million people get, 1 in 20 million. So I'm like, I teach people as I go, so I ended up finding out that truthfully, the life expectancy, the majority of the life expectancy of someone with what I have is 6 months.
Oh,
So if you think 2021 and now where we are, my doctors are like, you're a miracle. You're a
wow.
walking miracle. So now, when I was making the album, it was very, very difficult because I was on this treatment that they put me on. The chemo nickname is Red Devil. So if you can
Okay.
imagine,
Yeah.
the
Right
nurses,
away.
the nurses are like, I can't believe you're on this. Like it's more of like an old school, not fancy, just straight, we're going to nuke you.
Hardcore.
And it worked for a very long time. And then right as we started making the record, there was some growth, and the doctor was like, you can't really take much more of this, and your quality of life isn't good. So let's change things up. And as you change things up, you have to deal with finding the new thing you're going to go for. And with me, it's harder because there aren't, like I said, I'm 1 in 20 million. So I'm the first person that the doctor's ever had with this, that he's ever worked on with this disease. So a lot of it isn't like based on studies. It's not based on like, oh, this worked on X amount of people.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh, let's see if it works. And so when I was making the record, I was figuring out the new treatment, not on anything, because before you take a new treatment, you have to kind of clean out your system.
Of course, yeah.
Of what you were on, and then there's like the insurance and getting that all clear. And then my body during the recording just like was destroyed. Like I couldn't, I retain water, so my legs look like whale legs.
Oh,
my
man.
body, like I couldn't. My blood. I was on like 30 blood pressure medicines. Like imagine 30 blood pressure pills just to get it to 140.
Jeez.
Yeah, and now I'm on 0 blood pressure medicine,
No,
and my blood pressure is 115.
that's brilliant.
107. And so things are shrinking. And what I'm experiencing now is a lot of pain and a lot of nerve damage and things from the Red Devil.
Okay.
And so, and different treatments and stuff. And also from healing, when you heal, when you're healing, like I went in, I thought I had a broken rib because I had a little fumble, and at the time it didn't really hurt, but then like a couple of days later, my ribs really started hurting. So I was like, oh, I think I maybe broke a rib or cracked a rib.
Yeah.
So I went to the hospital, and it ended up being that I killed the tumor, and it was necrotic, and it was just dead tissue, and it was shooting, like just whatchamacallit, what's the word? It was just releasing gas
Okay.
in my system.
That's
So
getting air bubbles almost.
yeah, so the pain was gas from the dead tumor. So whatever was in the tumor was, so I lived in the hospital,
Oh.
But it was good reasons.
Yeah.
The tumor. So now I'm doing really well.
That's great.
But I'm still in a lot of pain and a lot of like stuff like that. Like, I'm still in the middle of it, and it's just more watching, quality of life and treatments. And like Tuesday, I have a scan for my lungs that I get every 5 months or whatever. So, there's like anxiety of that, like,
Yeah.
worried, like, now that's the week before, like anything that happens, I'm like, oh no, does that
Wrap you
mean
up in cotton wool.
yeah, does that mean this or does that mean that? But that's, behind Listen Up is what I've learned is, you know, you can't predict your future, and good and bad. Like there are times where I would think, like when I got off Red Devil, everyone was like, oh, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And it ended up being the worst time because I was in between all this stuff. And then there's times where I'm rushed to the hospital and it's because I killed a tumor. And that's the last thing I would think. I was like, wait, what? Like now I'm going to be in this book because there's certain medicine that I'm the first one that's ever tried. It's huge. Like I'm going to be in a book.
Yeah.
At a college, using this college paper or this college book or medical book about this medicine that was created and how now it's used on me for a different thing and it's working. And, and that paper was brought to me in the hospital by my doctor. And I thought she was coming to tell me bad news. And she was like, guess what? Like you killed another tumor.
You're going to be famous in another way.
Yeah, you shrunk a tumor by an inch. Here's the paper. Get it signed, notarized, and we'll submit it. And you're going to be helping people in the future who didn't know that this was an option.
That's amazing.
So
and they've got a soundtrack for it as well now.
Yeah. And so amidst all of that, and even before that, discovering I had it and all this stuff, and then surgery on my back and being home and all these things over the last, 4 years, 5 years. How long has it been now?
It must be, getting on 4 or 5 years, I'd imagine.
Yeah, which is insane.
21, you said. Yeah,
it's insane.
5 years.
Like I've been able to learn a lot and have a lot of, positive outlooks on things where, I sit in a room with, people of different races, different races, different political background, political ideas, or different, religious beliefs, or and everyone doesn't care. You know what I mean? Everyone's there just to stay alive and get along, and everyone's talking and everyone's having fun and all those things. That you look through this. You're at home for the last 3 years, and you're looking out, and you're not distracted by, being in the the craziness of it all, being in a band on tour or whatever. You're able to just be more of the creative, writing the songs and coming up with like the creative stuff. You're not distracted by things that don't matter.
Yes.
You really, you're focused on the things that matter. And, that's people, other people, and, their well-being and their, and love and caring and all those kind of things. So experiencing it and living it, and then putting it to paper, putting it to song, releasing the record, I really wanted it to be a place fans could go and listen to and go, you know what? Like I can get through what I'm going through.
Yeah. The whole feeling of the album is positivity.
Like, that's awesome. Yeah.
You got 100%. For me, the tune that stands out the most is Treat Yourself. It just seems so positive. It's like, don't beat yourself up, go easy on yourself.
We're our worst critics, like
100%. Yeah.
When, like half the time I'm the most, depressed or sad about something or up late and I have to put on The Office, to distract me,
Good distraction.
so I can go to bed positive. Those things I'm thinking about like never come to fruition. Like they're never real. They're just made up in my head.
Yeah.
And we punish ourselves that way. And it's like to remind people that, we're harder on ourselves than we need to be. And we shouldn't be. We should enjoy each day. And obviously, like, have your feelings and have your opinions on
Yeah.
what you feel is going on in the world. But ultimately, we're all human and we're all going to need each other and other people at some point. And it's the level of angry, the level of sadness, and the level of things that people put themselves through out of worry, not out of facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not out of the things that have really happened, but this could happen. And
That's it. That's the anxiety causing thing. What could happen? It's just like try and live in the moment and enjoy
yeah,
living in.
yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned treat yourself. And it's funny you mentioned that song, and I brought this up before. I talked about this, and this is true. When I was writing that song, I was in chemo writing the lyrics. We had the riffs done, and I was listening to the riffs in my headphones in the musical demo for Treat Yourself, and I started writing the lyrics, and I would sing it. The idea, I'd sing to the nurses, and my doctor came by, and I sang him the idea, and he's like, "This is so good, I got it." He's like, "Let me take a picture." So he took a picture of my lyrics of the notebook, and I think that it hit home with him because he's a doctor, whose people's lives are in his hands.
Of course, yeah.
Like and so I think like that resonated with him. And I don't know this firsthand, but seeing him taking a picture and how it made him react, just looking at it and me singing it, the idea, and giving him like one piece of the headphone, and he's singing the melody or whatever. And he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "Let me take a picture of that." And I think that, it reminded him of that he needed to treat himself.
Yeah.
That he's a doctor that has these patients' hands in his lives, or their lives in his hands, and I'm sure it takes a huge toll mentally and emotionally.
It's a huge job, isn't it, being a doctor?
Yeah, yeah. So just reminding him, it reminded him of like, I need to be less hard on myself. I need to, you know what I mean? Like he was like, "Oh, I need this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that was a really cool indicator of a song that could resonate with people. When you have your oncologist,
Yeah.
it clicking with them. You know what I mean?
And then it also opens up, so you get a nice rapport with them, a nice vibe as well. It's like they can see the positivity that starts oozing out of you in such a horrible, negative kind of situation that could quite easily push your mental health right down the hill, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something I still struggle with, and my wife is there, and she can tell, and I'll tell her like, "Hey, I'm not doing good tonight, I'm not doing well, and I'll tell her, and I'll put on a funny show, and she'll like give me advice. Oh, maybe you should do this or do that, or try to relax or this, or and reminds me of the things. Just because there's a lot of like living in the unknown, and I have a 4-year-old daughter, and that was my dream. Like even in our album Resurrection, I sing about it. I say I say I had a daughter as tall as I am in my dreams, blah blah blah, and I wake up to find, and and I cry, and all this stuff. So that was always a dream of mine, was to have a daughter. So now I have a 4-year-old who's she's the first girl in my family, like in the Gilberts,
Oh, right, okay.
all boys, Marty, Dale, Brian, Chad, me, Brendan, Avery, it's all boys, and she's their first girl.
She's going to be well protected then.
Yeah. So this dream I had, and the child I always wanted, I got, and so, I forget where I was going with that, but like, it's just, with this record, and I was talking about the fear, like she's someone I want to be, her and my wife, like being a part of in their lives for, as long, a long time. So
Yeah.
every day I wake up. So I have, I obviously have those natural feelings of anxiety and fear and things that come up, but I don't put that on our fans. You know what I mean? Because I think in pop culture, actors or musicians or things across the board, they want sympathy from their fans. They want them to buy their album. They want them to buy their movie tickets or whatever. They want them to buy their concert tickets, and then they want you to feel bad for them. And it's like, you have your personal people in your life.
Yeah.
That should be there. You don't need to do that to your fan, because I think you have a responsibility to your fans, because you could have a fan that's going through a terrible thing, and you talk to them through your music about terrible things, and then they're just in a hole. My thing was like, I want to take what I'm going through and make it a superpower. Make it a superpower. Like,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
This thing I'm going through on the surface, what you see in TV, what you see, in pop culture, whatever, is this something that would normally be like, a giant fear and, whatever. I don't want to bring that to them. I only want to bring the hope that I've experienced and the things I've been around, and and that element of the songs, and that element, and put that in the songs, and hopefully take someone who's going through mental illness, going through cancer, going through sickness, going through, whatever it is, being poor or being whatever, and just to say, hey, like, you'll get through it. You're going to get through it. Those aren't, there's, you can't live in that unexpectedness and that fake thing that you're creating in your mind. Like, get out there and live and enjoy your time while you have it. And
on that, yeah,
and not in a way that's like dark and like, you're gonna die, so you better go.
Well, we're all going to do that, aren't we? At some point.
Yeah, like that's just reality.
Yeah,
but more of like, hey, like, don't be as hard on yourself as you are, and and just sort of, take these sort of, moments that I've had and turn them around and use them as a way to inspire people.
It's definitely got that in the new album. It's inspiration. Like I said, it's positive. I listened to the album before reading the press release and knowing your backstory, and now knowing your backstory and talking to you, I'm just like flabbergasted that you've come through the other side and you've got this new body of work. And how's it stand with the rest of the band? Are you going to be going out on tour with? Because you've got like the Yellow Card tour coming up in June and in May this year across the States, and obviously you've just been announced in the last day or so for a couple of the shows for Warped Tour. So
yeah,
are you going out with those guys?
For me, it's day by day.
Okay.
Now, for me, one thing for sure is I can't really get on a plane right now.
That would make sense.
My back, and my treatments make my blood cells, lower and different. So like I could catch sickness really easy.
Yeah,
When you heard on TV, the people that like wear masks for other people, during COVID, like I'm one of those people.
of course. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And whether or not, whatever, your opinion on COVID is, but like, I'm just saying, like, that was like, what I going through now, like, that's why I can't get on a plane because
it's completely understandable. Yeah,
people normal get sick
yeah,
from one plane ride. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a lot more at stake. So I will be playing shows. I won't be on the whole tour, but I map out places that I could drive to that are close by that I could
yeah.
play and do things for and stuff like that.
So you're still going out there, and you get to meet the fans and get
Yeah,
the face to face, or the live reaction to all these new songs that you've written in such harrowing
yeah.
times. Which
So like driving to first show on the Yellow Card tour is in Atlanta,
okay,
and that's 4 hours from where I live. So I'll
that's not
call
too
a
bad.
friend and be like, "Hey, can you sleep over the night before?" And then we'll drive the next morning. So that morning I'll wake up, I'll have my wife give me a stomach shot, I'll go play the show, come home by midnight, 1 in the morning, get my night stomach shot, go to bed. You know, you know what I mean? Like I can make that happen.
Yeah,
You know, and some trips my wife and my daughter come too, but it's like pick and choose. You know what I mean? Like I have to take it day by day. Where am I at in my treatment cycle? Did I have it that week? If I had it that week, it's a little harder because my energy is shot,
of course. Yeah,
is down. So so it's really just like looking at the time, looking at the location. If I could drive there, and if my family, if I can take my meds, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that goes into deciding
of
if I
course.
can play the show.
I can completely understand that and where you're coming from. It also screams at me that you need to do a residency somewhere in Tennessee.
Yeah, that would be
The
great.
fans to come to you instead of you going out to the fans.
That would be great. That the new thing is no longer touring, but making fans now tour. The
Yeah,
bands don't tour.
that's it. It's
Yeah.
a bit like a Vegas residency. And if you did it in close to home, you could get your doctor to come and sing the song.
Yeah, I actually did when we were on when we not sing a song, but when we played on the All American Rejects, we're on a tour together, and it was you know I, I was doing better, and uh, my lungs were more clear and all this stuff, and I invited all the doctors there, and I made it really funny. Like I made like this like fake VIP section, and they loved it. Like VIP for Dr. Bauer,
No.
or I don't want to throw his name out there. Forgive me if you can cut that out.
Yeah.
Um, but VIP for my doctor and this person, and there's this whole section where all the nurses and all the doctors, um, they actually used it as a retreat. Um,
Okay.
they did a retreat and they did like a dinner and the whole thing,
They
and then
treated themselves.
yeah, exactly. And they went to the concert, and it was awesome. And then my other doctors were there, because I have, with the disease I have, it's not only about the cancer, there's also the hormonal side.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of like dealing with like the blood pressure side of stuff
Yeah.
and things like that. So I had her there, and then my radiation doctor. And so it was like all these crazy different doctors.
No one's getting treated today. We're all off to go and see Newfound Glory.
Yeah. And they all came and they all had a blast. My radiation doctor came in the dressing room after our set, and he's like completely sweaty, and he like got in the pit, and he was like, "This is
Amazing.
so fun." Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing that's pretty wild is uh with my radiation, um we have our album radio surgery,
Okay,
and,
yeah.
and my doctor was like, "Yeah, we're going to do this radio surgery." But yeah, so all the doctors were there, and he was all sweaty, and he was he was in the mosh pit. Anyway, I was talking about radio surgery, so he was like, "No way," and that was what I was getting, was the radio surgery.
Wow.
And he's like, "You have an album called," and I played him the song, and I had a copy of the vinyl at my house, so I brought him a copy of the vinyl. He really wanted it, and he saw like the album cover and the whole thing, and he thought it was so cool, and it was just talk about craziness, you know what I mean, like singing and relating that back then to love, and trying to get this person out of your head, and then surgically removing them, and then years later, me going through actual radio surgery.
Yeah. Almost preemptive.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
That's crazy, man. So with regards to the album actually coming out, you mentioned earlier that you got another video that's going to come out around the same time as the album drops.
Yeah.
Is this part of the is there an over I think word overlining arc for all the videos, or are they all individually like units by themselves?
I think they're individual units. I think
Okay.
this one is definitely going to be. Sorry about that.
That's right.
This one's definitely going to be, definitely going to stand out. I don't want to spoil it completely, but there is this young girl online who I kept seeing do these like really cool videos, and she had tons of followers, and it's almost like quick weird, like you never know, like she'd close a door and be in a different world, and close that door and be in it,
Yeah.
and this craziness. And I was like, man, that'd be really cool, like this girl who's isn't a video maker, she's usually makes these online videos.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's get her the song, let's send her some stuff and see what she comes up with. And
Amazing.
and yeah, and so we're just waiting for the first draft of the video. and so it's in this girl's hands, and I kind of gave her no boundaries.
Wow.
I want you to do what you do, but take the lyrics, take the song, and told her about the lyrics, told her about the song, and we sent her a bunch of Newfound Glory props and stuff, and and she's going to make her style, internet things that she makes, but do it to a Newfound Glory video.
That's insane. That's the way to do it, though, isn't it? It's to grab something that's hot and actually using someone who knows how to do that hot thing to make it relevant for Newfound Glory, which is amazing.
Yeah, and she's young and never made a video before, and it just seemed like a really cool, different sort of interesting, and like I said, I haven't seen the video yet, but I love her videos online. And I remember bringing it up to my little cousins. I'm sorry, my little nephews, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I follow her. Like I see her videos all the time."
Oh, that's cool.
She's really popular on the internet and makes these like really crazy, weird, dark, fun but dark too. Like if I found the account and showed you, you would probably know exactly who she, you would have probably seen it if you have Instagram.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, she's one of those people that would, randomly
Everywhere.
pops up on people's pages because every video she makes gets like all these views. So I just thought would be really cool to see what, her young brain, and her creativity that's so unique would come up with our lyrics and our song.
It
And
also gets Newfound Glory out to a whole new audience that might not necessarily have heard of you or be into you, or the kids might just think, oh, that's cool Uncle Chad's band, or that's the band
yeah, yeah,
that my parents used to drink to back in the year 2000 kind of thing.
yeah, yeah. It really could open up some really cool doors. But, ultimately, I think Newfound Glory has always been about having fun and unique videos. And I think it'll be a fun time. You know what I mean? It'll be a fun video to watch and enjoy, and something that you could watch a few times.
Nice.
Not just once, but you'd want to see her tricks and her
Yeah.
things she does, a lot. So that'll come out. It should come out the day the album comes out. So around now, isn't it around?
That's what yeah.
We're February 20th, so
Yeah.
you should be able to see it right now. If you can't see it yet, then there might be a problem, which would suck. But yeah, you should be able to see it right now. And I'm really excited about this song, because this is a song we've been saving for album drop, and I think that this one really, and you've heard it.
Is it the final track on the album by any chance? I know you
No, I
can't
love
give the
that
name
song.
away yet, but
I love that song, Frankenstein's Monster. No, it's for a love song.
oh yes,
A love song that,
yeah. And
which is,
perfectly to be released a couple of days after Valentine's as well.
oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Perfect. A love song. Wow, I didn't even realize that. Wow, that just sparked a bunch of ideas in my mind. Thank you. I had no clue. I didn't even realize. But yeah, like that song, is super unique. That riff, it really is like, like a metal rock riff, with this like big halftime pop punk chorus.
Yeah.
But like, the riff is super, super rock, Ian in the studio over the riff, did this one take as a joke just on the mic. He was like, come on, and it sounded like over the riff, it sounded like Poison or Warrant or something. You know what I mean? But with Jordan's voice, he can make any style of music sound like Newfound Glory.
Yeah. What kind of, because you've just signed to a new label, what kind of input did Pure Noise Records have with the whole output that you've put together for the album? And like you said, you found this girl to do the video online yourself. So did they have any notes or anything like that to give you guys?
Yeah, they have been doing amazing stuff. Like, we're doing the acoustic performance at Grimey's, and they have right now on the side of the wall of the building the album cover painted huge.
I saw that on the Instagram, a great big yellow right between the windows kind of thing.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. And then they're doing this like exclusive burger built around, there's a local burger truck that's like really, really popular in Nashville.
Okay.
That he created a custom burger that's like, a jalapeno burger, a jalapeno popper.
Yeah.
in a burger. So it'd be like the jalapeno pop punk burger, jalapeno popper burger, you know.
Love.
And so that will be promoting the album for like a couple weeks. Wherever they set up, you can buy our custom burger. And they did like this like really cool coffee at a local coffee shop, custom brand coffee that's available for a little bit limited time, built around the album. And so they do a great job of coming up with their own stuff too, because they're fans. And that's one of the reasons we signed to Pure Noise as well. Is there's bands from our genre that sign to big labels and go for the radio thing and do all that stuff. But in the beginning, that was never our intention. Like we paid for our Nothing We Can Say Ourselves, which had Hit or Miss, which later got re-recorded and was on MTV. And we never had we never expected to get anywhere. We just made our records and wrote our songs and things like that. And so the cool thing about Pure Noise is they've been fans for so long that they know our history, they know who we are, they know they know who we are, and they also can, they also have bands like Knock Loose, so so Knock Loose is a great band, and they're huge.
Yeah, they're definitely having a moment.
And in the States, they've been on Jimmy Kimmel, they've been on, they were, nominated for Grammy.
They're joint headliners for Slam Dunk over here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. And I think they were nominated for a Grammy last year.
Yeah.
So they had this like huge moment. And so they were able to take Knock Loose and pour a lot into that band and take them to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
But if Knock Loose never got to that level, they still would have loved Knock Loose and cared about them, the same way that like when we signed a Drive-Thru back in the day, Drive-Thru signed us because they loved our band.
Yeah.
And they ended up having a distribution deal, and we got picked up by MCA and a major and blah, blah, blah. So all this stuff happened that we weren't expecting. So, Pure Noise is like one of the last labels that cares about physical media. Like they really care about vinyl. They care about CDs. They care about like, more than just, they care about the culture. They don't care about like, oh, we're just going to go for it for the radio. And then like, if the radio doesn't work, then your record's done, and people forget about it, and it's like, who cares? Like, that's not what we've ever been about. And though, maybe we could have gone on and signed to one of these major labels to get us on radio and do the whole push and do the whole thing. But it was like, it didn't feel like Newfound Glory. And
you get lost amongst everyone else that the big label is pushing. It's like, you get assigned someone that becomes your label manager, and that's kind of, they're looking after 4 or 5 other bands, and one of the bands pops off, and you're left, just trying to get emails off of them.
Yeah, and when we were younger and doing well, we were lucky. Like we had in the UK and in the States, like we really had amazing people who loved our band. But ultimately, our label was owned by, like Seagram's, some like giant alcohol company, or it was owned by like some like crazy corporation. So if those numbers didn't match what they needed, they fired everyone and changed it. So that's what they did. Like MCA went under, and we were just a product, on a major label.
Just become a commodity then, don't you?
Yeah, it just didn't matter. So even the people that loved us and believed in us had no choice, because they lost their jobs, you know what I mean? And they went wherever they had to go to survive and stuff like that. So you kind of like, you're back to square one. And, we've experienced all that. So we kind of like learned, what what we want for ourselves. And, and for us, like we were the weirdos at the lunch table back when the lunch table weirdos were only like 10 people.
Yeah.
Now the lunch table weirdos would be like hundreds of people,
The nerds have taken over the world.
yeah. But back then we were the weirdos and the alternative kids that didn't fit in. And, I was the giant who was, 6'3" at a young age. Everyone wanted to play sports. And I was like, I'm not a sports guy, and I found a subculture that I grew up in. And, and kids my age were like into drinking super young and drugs and stuff like that, because I grew up in a little suburb where there was nothing to do. And I was straight edge, you know what I mean? Okay. So it was like finding these places. So with our music, the New Found Glory, even though each band member is very, very different than the other member, we're all different characters and have our own different dispositions and ideas. It really escalates the band. And, we're able to, the idea is to create, make people feel at home, make people feel like they belong, make people, make people, when we didn't belong, we found music and that gave us a home and that gave us a place to go. Beer and Bloodstains on the album.
Yes.
About an old venue. Like that was our home. That venue was where we would go 2 times a week and see all of our friends and be a part of a culture. And that's kind of like, that's what we wanted to create. So with Pure Noise, they come from that same background. So when I talk to someone at Pure Noise about New Found Glory, they could bring up, like the label manager, he could bring up the time he saw us in San Francisco and like, the early 2000s or this show or this album. Like he knows our band, which to me is way more important than like, let's look at your numbers and see what you can do on paper.
They're the guys that go, oh, I had my first kiss with this girl listening to track 8 off of this album kind of thing. They know the ins and outs of the band. Crazy. Have you, I know it's only February, but next year's the 30th anniversary of the band. Have you started thinking if you're going to be doing anything for that next year?
What's funny is I was doing interviews yesterday, and just like your Valentine's Day thing, I discovered that it was the 30-year anniversary.
Well, you've had a lot on your plate recently, come on.
But no, I really didn't know, just because, time flies. And, the last 3-4 years of my life have been in and out of the hospital and in bed and tests and things like that. So, I'm not keeping track of timing and dates and things like that. So when they brought that up, I was like, oh my gosh, 30 years. And then thinking about it, 2027, 1997.
Yeah.
30 years. Like, yeah. So
become a legacy band then, don't you?
Yeah. I immediately called my manager because we started planning next year and talking about ideas. And I said to her, I was like, did you realize that it's 30 years? And she was like, no, she didn't even put it together either. And I was like, that's perfect. I was like, we got to do something to celebrate that. That's huge. Like 30 years is crazy.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll definitely do something. I don't know what it is.
Well, you got 10 months or so to start planning, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I got a long time ago. But yeah, like I think definitely we will do something really cool around the 30 year.
Yes, it's a huge milestone, because a lot of those bands that you grew up with from that kind of 97 to say 2007, they were huge for a moment, and whilst that pop punk and emo and the end of new metal kind of era, and then they just disappeared. But some of them have started coming back and, you know, reforming or coming out of hiatus, and you know, it's really blown up for them. Whereas you guys have been just consistently like releasing and touring, touring. So
yeah, we never
to you guys.
We never broke up. We never went on hiatus, and I think a lot of those bands stopped making money. You know what I mean? And I think that they were like, "Oh, this isn't lucrative anymore," and they quit their bands or broke up or whatever. And now that this style, and it's funny because on the Radio Surgery record is when I created the sarcastic pop punk's not dead, because I saw all those bands completely disappear and completely change their styles or completely break up or whatever. And I was like, dude, like, the point of this isn't for fame or money. The heart of it is for the culture. And there's going to be downsides, but like, you shouldn't break up because you can't afford 3 buses anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you do it in a van, I guess, going, you know, in your early days, you'd all squash into the back of a, you know.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah, exactly. And so there was never a time where we didn't love playing music.
Yeah.
You know, like, why would we not enjoy playing songs? And so we never broke up. And so our 30 years is actually 30 solid years.
Yeah. There's not many bands that can say that. I was talking to Jarrett from Bowling for Soup last year, and they've been going pretty much the same amount of time as well, and consistently playing. I know Chris has just left the band in the last year, but he was saying the same thing. It's like, you know, we're just in it because we love getting in front of an audience on a stage, be that to 20 people, 2,000 people, or, you know, playing the main stage at Download Festival in front of 80,000 people. It doesn't matter as long as they're on that stage and they've got their guitars in their hand and they're having a good time and just, you know, forgetting the world ever existed and just living in that moment on the stage. And that's what I can see from what you guys are doing as well, by the sound of it.
Yeah, 100%. No pun intended or whatever. But yeah, 100. I find myself saying that all the time now. I catch myself. I'm like, oh.
That's one of our tunes, you know.
Yeah, 100% agree. And that guy Jared, I've never hung out with him one-on-one, like personally, but he's sort of been someone that has written me on the internet over the last couple of years, some really nice things and stuff that he's been going through and things. So
yeah, he's had his struggles and he's quite open about them and wears his heart on his sleeve. And
yeah, so
we got quite chummy with him over the last sort of 10 years or so. And cool. He's one of those nicer guys out there.
I think that my story resonated with him, you know, a little bit maybe, you know, and because he reached out and wrote me, and now, you know, I don't know him. Like I said, I've never hung out with him in person, but he's written me, and he seems like a really, really nice guy. You know, like he said some really kind things and stuff like that.
That's cool, man. Well, I think we're going to run out of time, so I just want to wish you best of luck for the album drop, and, you know, whatever comes from the album comes from the album. And I want to wish you thank you very much for being so open and frank earlier on in our chat. That was, you know, not a lot of people were that open about what they've been going through to, you know, and writing an album in that position as well. So thank you very much for opening up, and I want to wish you best of luck and best of health going forwards. And hopefully you know, you never know, you might get to a position where you can get on planes and you can come back to the UK and play for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what, you know, my doctor said, she thinks that it's onward and upward, you know, based on everything that's happening. And so, I just want to get to, I need to get my body to feel that way. You know,
course you do, yeah. There's no rushing it.
The tests say it. I just need to feel it. You know what I mean?
And it'll all come back, you know, and before you know it, you'll be tearing stages up and going.
Yeah.
You'll be playing They Might Be Giants, and you'll be going, that's behind me now.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for the interview.
Oh, no worries at all. It's been an absolute honor chatting to you.
What's your favorite song on the record?
Like I said, Treat Yourself. It just resonated with me. I was just like, yes, I could do that myself. I need to treat myself better. It just, it just resonated, the hook, and then the lyrics as well. It's just nice.
Cool. And that's another show that kept me positive. Parks and Rec.
Oh, yes, amazing.
I'd fall asleep to that. I kind of go between The Office, New Girl, and Parks and Rec. It's on a permanent rotation.
I wish Ron Swanson was my father or my.
Oh, dude,
he's the best character I think written in a very long time. It's
how great when he meets Sam Elliott and he's the complete opposite, but the same, he's the vegan version,
Yeah. Where he says, what's your surname? Done and Done. Is that is that done as in the conversation and done in your surname? It's like both.
It was so funny. It was So treat yourself. Using those words. Was a little shot out to that is just like Boom Roasted. To some of the shows that I would watch to keep me positive, that lined up with the album, that lined up with the record really well.
Yeah.
Sort of all ties together,
Amazing. Well, Chad, thank you very much for joining us on the Mike James Rock Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.
Cool. Thank you, buddy.